I've had really great opportunities to meet with celebrities, even in my experience in rehab, and how to make that a learning experience. I've played volleyballs with an Olympic athlete in rehab. I played the piano with people, who were doctors there. And I think it's just meeting people where they're at and really seeing how each interaction can be playful, can also be healing.
Hello and welcome to Love as a Business Strategy, a podcast that brings humanity to the workplace. We're here to talk about business, but we want to tackle topics that most business leaders shy away from. And we believe that humanity and love should be at the center of every successful business. I am your host, Jeff Ma, and as always, I want to have conversations and hear stories with real people about real business, the real world. And my guest today is Trisha Choi. And Trisha is a deeply empathetic leader whose 25-year journey through healthcare has been grounded in service, healing, and heart. Her work centers around patient experience, leadership coaching, and organizational transformation. And of course, I believe love being put into action. She's held influential roles at institutions like Duke University Hospital, Cone Health, and New York Presbyterian, where her focus wasn't just on metrics, but on humanity. During the pandemic at Duke, Trisha led a team of 100 with humility and grace, helping sustain top-tier patient experience scores while prioritizing emotional care for both staff and patients. And her leadership became a steady force in some uncertain times, guided by passion, collaboration, and connection. At Cone Health, she supported communication and care strategies during surges, and at over 17 years at New York Presbyterian, she built programs and teams that shaped the hospital's culture and patient support systems. But her story goes beyond this resume. The tragic loss of Dr. Lorna Breen during the pandemic inspired her to speak out, to lead with vulnerability, and to make space for others to heal, which set her on a path of sharing and influencing to help others, which is why she's here today. And today, she pours her heart into coaching leaders, not just to grow professionally, but to bring love into their leadership at work, home, and in their communities. Her new concept of Baha'i Kubo is a reflection of that vision, a place where people can play, heal, and reconnect with themselves and each other. And she believes in the power of joyful, honest connection. And through her work, she continues to create ripples of care, courage, and love wherever she goes. And wherever she goes happens to be here on the show today. So, Trisha, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yay. Thank you. Doing wonderful today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. I know we've had some chats before this. We've had an interesting connection, but it's good to see you.
You too.
I have a question to start, just to kick things off. And I want to know, and I would like you to share, what is your passion and how did you find it?
Sure. Interestingly enough, I found it through a recent reduction in force, which is the first I've ever experienced in my 50 plus years of life. And it is this whole concept of fun employment. So, through finally finding time for myself to put my own oxygen mask on first, I've been able to do things that I equate to as being fun, like playing golf, bowling, singing a cappella, which I joined a group again that helps to regulate my vagus nerve. And then most recently, playing, like you, the love of tabletop board games. And I've been doing that with friends who created a board game, and we play it everywhere. So at restaurants, at parks, literally on the beach a couple weeks ago. So that is my passion, is to bring happiness, joy through play
I
to
love it.
people.
I love that. And you use the terms, just now use the term oxygen mask, obviously referring to like the airplane instructions when something goes wrong, which is still just a like a fear of mine that ever happens, if those ever pop down. I don't know if I'll remember to do that. But can you talk a little bit about why you see that as an oxygen mask? Because we're talking about play, we're talking about fun. Help complete that analogy for me a little bit.
Sure. Well, because my background is not only working in healthcare, but also working as a celebrity assistant and public relations and marketing. And if exist to help others, I have to help myself first. So I know that they tell you on the plane, and every time I hear it, put your own oxygen mask on first, and then to help your child next to you or help the person next to you. But you really truly can't take a breath and help the person next to you if you're not breathing, right? And so it's something that I've learned through my healthcare career is that in order to coach executives in healthcare space or coach executives in the hospital to do their utmost best, you have to help yourself first and you have to put your own health first.
So so I guess play, to put it simply, is the oxygen. Where do you see this kind of situation centering around in terms of as a problem? Is it that work doesn't have enough play? Is it that is that society sees work a different way? Like where is the issue and why do people need this oxygen so badly?
Yeah. So I think my last role, leading a team of 100 in a hospital, an academic medical center, it can get really serious. And especially during the pandemic, it's, work, 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 but it's so important to have that importance to play. So for me, I moved 6 years ago from New York City to North Carolina and learned how important it was to exhale. I didn't know that I could exhale until I left New York City. And here in North Carolina, I go on hikes all the time, except for right now. I think I shared with you, there's so much pollen that there's literally like green everywhere. And it's a really big challenge to my allergies. But it is important to get out there and to be in nature and play. So I think that's an important way to balance oneself. And that's what led me to this concept of Bahai Kubo, which is a space within conferences where leaders can self-select and just take time for themselves and play creatively.
So your concept is to set up at conferences that are work based conferences, but you have dedicated space for attendees to kind of disconnect, maybe check out. And what exactly happens in that space?
Sure. So there's opportunities for these attendees of conferences to play music, to finger paint, create pinch pots, all the things that you used to do as a child that might have brought you joy, maybe play a game, and then go back into the conference space and hear something that you would then take back as an idea of change to your home organization.
I take my young kids to birthday parties all the time, and whenever they do stuff, I'm always like, man, I wish I could just join in. And it's like you look around and it's like, well, the parent's job is to kind of sit here and watch. So I love the idea that maybe it would be accepted and kind of appreciated in a context like that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be holding an event in the coming month with parents and children. And it will be a Bahai Kubo event to find home within yourself with your child. So you would be, as a parent, accepted to actually get on the floor and get dirty and build something with your hands, maybe even make a fort out of a refrigerator box and draw on it. Be really creative, something that you maybe haven't done in a long time, which is so important to your work life, right? If you could just come back and say, hey guys, this is what I did. I want to bring that same creative energy to what we do here every day in our jobs.
That's beautiful. Tactically speaking, I can't help but wonder, you know, is the element of play important because it is a separation and a break, a true disconnect away from the work? Or is it more important that we find ways to incorporate play and to include play as part of work? I guess I see those as two different approaches, and which one is more aligned to what you're thinking and why?
It's yes and. So it's a reminder and it's a restorative action that then clicks something in your brain back to memory and saying, this is something that I should be engaging in all the time. And there's no reason why I can't be like my 7-year-old child at that birthday party. Why can't I bring that into what I am? And that's exactly what Love as a Business Strategy was about. It's about vulnerability. It's about being truthful and honest to yourself, right? And how can you show up as your authentic self and bring that with you wherever you go, which is the concept of Bahay Kubo. So it's a Filipino home that is lightweight. It's made out of bamboo and nipa leaves, but you can pick it up and take it with you wherever you go. And so that's the concept. As a
Hmm.
leader, we should be able to pick ourselves up and bring ourselves to every group that we're a part of.
It's beautiful. I love that. You use the term authentic self, and I find that to be not only so important, but also loaded with, I guess, problems at times as well. Because once you say, I'm gonna be authentic self, I find that in this day and age, people less and less really can define who their authentic self is at times. At least some people, I think we struggle to understand that. And in fact, when I think of this concept of play, I can see a lot of leaders responding with, well, I don't want to do that. And I don't have a part of that as my authentic self. I don't have an inner child or whatever it is that resists it. What do you have to say kind of in that space?
A couple of things. I have like these rapid fire ideas. My One of my most recent ex bosses, so I worked with him in New York, was just in a play of Annie, and he starred as Daddy Warbucks. So he's constantly that same fun person that he is on stage, that he is in my work experience with him. And in my last job at a large academic medical center, the chief nursing officer was constantly her laughing, goofy self. Another chief nursing executive would hand out candies, big sizes, not the little ones you get fun sized at Halloween, but like the big sized Twizzlers, and just made sure that people knew that she was there. And that's a way to bring fun in her own authentic way. And I thought about that reading Love as a Business Strategy when Frank was talking about how he had his limiting beliefs. Like, you need to truly exist in this world by being authentic, or you have too many masks, I think. Not that same oxygen mask, but too many masks that you put upon in front of yourself. And it's hard to, remember which one if you're not being your true self.
Do you truly believe then that everybody has, I guess, that fun side to them that is yet to be unlocked?
So I don't know if it's just me, but in my work with others, but even especially in my coaching and working in healthcare, I was an internal um, change management coach leader. So trying to make change from the inside. And even you mentioned it in your intro, but even in working with Dr. Breen, she was so excited talking about her new bicycle gadget that she got. Or if I brought in a really cool thermos that was like maybe 12 inches long and just 2 inches around, she was like, I want one of those. And she showed me hers when I got mine. So there's always an element of fun if we can connect with people. And that's what I strive to do in every relationship, working or otherwise.
That makes a whole lot of sense. I like that. I'm wondering for people who are listening to this and saying, love it, on board, are there any rules or guidelines in how you practice this and how you, that's quote unquote, implement it? I know it's meant to be playful and fun, but let's say I'm all on board. I want to find myself and my authentic self in this play and in this enjoyment. But how should I begin? How do I actually get myself out of this rut?
So I had a coach within the chief HR officer at my last organization, and she worked for Nike, and she said, just do it. And so that's exactly what my answer is to you. So there are no rules. I'm also very entrenched in the study of group relations conferences, and I'm talking to leaders around the world that are playing in the space of meetings that have no agenda. They're conferences that people learn about their own leadership. I'm not sure if you're familiar with these, but it started in Tavistock, England in the 1960s, and they last for several days or weeks where you can just learn about your authentic leadership style. And there's no agenda, and you can totally learn how you show up in these spaces. And there are no rules. And that's what I'm learning about life and about this business, is just try it. I do intend to implement surveys at the end of every session. So there's going to be a survey in the event, 3 weeks post the event, and then 3 months post the event to see what you've actually learned in this experience. Are you taking it home to your work experience and to your life experience?
We mentioned in your intro, and I think you openly share about this relationship and this impact of Dr. Lorna Breen. Can you talk a little bit about the path that started there, for the listeners to really better understand what drives you in some of the stuff that you do?
Sure. So we met when I was working at a small hospital in New York City in the upper Manhattan area. Together, we worked on improving patient experience. And we were able to take that little hospital from the lowest scoring hospital 6 years later to the highest scoring hospital. Um, so she was a very, very serious leader. She ran the emergency department of 16 beds, and in her story, I was no longer working there. But during the pandemic, there was only 16 beds, and hundreds of people coming in with COVID. And we didn't know what it was at that time. And she was trying to see what she could do to best care for them. In her true perfectionist style, she wanted to save every single person and couldn't. And so she ended up leaving to take care of herself with COVID, and then came back too soon. And then when she was out, she checked herself into a psychiatric hospital. And because doctors are supposed to be perfect, especially emergency room physicians, she ended up taking her life because she did not know how she could re-enter into the world and be taken seriously. So, I too suffer from a diagnosis of mental, I don't call it illness, I call it mental wellness, because I've learned through the years from diagnosis at 19 years old with bipolar disorder how to take care of myself. And that's been several opportunities after opportunities of, like I told you, engaging with people in learning through play. I've had really great opportunities to meet with celebrities, even in my experience in rehab, and how to make that a learning experience. I've played volleyballs with an Olympic athlete in rehab. I played the piano with people, who were doctors there. And I think it's just meeting people where they're at and really seeing how each interaction can be playful, can also be healing.
That's beautiful. And I know we should have probably started the interview with this context, but I'm glad we got to it, because I think, so much about today's day and age revolves around authenticity, finding ourselves again. At least for me personally, I feel like the world has become more and more complicated, more and more misrepresented and confusing to navigate. And there's this hunger and a deep, deep desire for more authenticity, more genuinity and connection with people. And I think these stories, including the tragic ones, including the tough ones, really shape what it means to be human. So I really appreciate you sharing that part of you for the listeners today, because I think it's important.
Yes, thank you. For those who are not on camera and can't see us, I will also share that part of my story is that I had a wonderful marriage to a American-born Chinese man, ABC, which I think is also you and your story. And part of my experience was that there was a certain sense of also needing to be perfect, and if not, quiet about that. So I think that our relationship was a good one, but couldn't get me to where I am today, where I can talk about this openly and on several social media platforms. And that shows a sign of growth for me as well, that this
Yeah.
is something that I needed to do for me in order to grow. And that's been part of my experience when I went to do my master's in change at Columbia Teachers College. You know, they said there's going to be change, and that's when my separation and the divorce took place. But it's been tremendous good growth, and I'm really happy I did that. And my experience in this program was adult learning via almost a playful Montessori-like experience, because I couldn't do the program I was doing of industrial organizational psych at NYU. It was very didactic, but at Columbia we played. We played by doing personality tests, a lot of the things that you guys offer at Softway and Culture Plus. And we really looked at the person within the organization, and we delved into the work by doing it ourselves. We were the test subjects so that we can do it with other people.
I love that. And, great that you bring up this ABC element. I haven't had a lot of ABCs on the show, so it's cool that you bring that up because I relate. We may not have had the same experience, but we definitely have a unique perfectionism about us. I think we have some expectations put upon us at a young age. And you're right. Like, you doing the work you're doing, and even I would say myself doing the work I'm doing is a departure from what's expected, what was kind of considered normal for us. And I think let's pat ourselves in the back a little bit. You and I,
Yeah.
we can celebrate our journey a little bit.
Yeah, but though I am Filipino, because that's why the name of my company, Bahay Kubo,
Yes.
is Filipino. But yes, we have roots that are entwined.
Very, very similar Asian, American-born Asian kind of expectations.
Indeed.
With that, we actually are out of time, which is unfortunate, but I do appreciate everything you shared today. And I wanted to give a little bit of space for you to make sure you can, plug, if you can. How do people reach you? How can they learn more, especially about your work, connect with you and Bahay Kubo?
Sure. So, as I've shared, I know that the work is a very iterative process. It's lean, where you put others first. And so my website is ever changing, but it is currently www.bahaykuboretreat.com. And you can reach out to me there. There's my contact information. And I hope to be invited to conferences literally across the globe so that we can make a change with the individual, finding home within themselves before they then go back to their home organization and even to their families to make change.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you once again for being on the show. And we appreciate you and our listeners for spending this time. As always, our time is really valuable. So spending it here is meaningful to me. And I hope you have checked out Love as a Business Strategy. There's a second edition out. If you haven't already checked it, please check that out on Amazon and other retailers. Awesome. If you have your camera on, Trisha is showing off that she has both copies. That's very, very kind. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, share with a friend. And we are posting every 2 weeks. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you again. And thank you, Trisha.
Thank you, Jeff.